The desperate signal, Admiral, this is Valms. Crystalline fingers trembled as she watched another star system disappear from the tactical display. The holographic map of Zephyrian space, once bright with thousands of inhabited worlds, now showed growing patches of absolute darkness. In 3 standard cycles, 17 colonies had simply vanished. No distress signals, no survivors, no trace of what had consumed them. The Zephyrian High Command chamber buzzed with nervous energy as dozens of her finest officers struggled to comprehend the impossible. Their species had ruled this sector of the galaxy for over 2 millennia, building a peaceful empire based on science, art, and harmony with nature. They had never faced anything like this. Admiral called out Navigation Officer Zen from his floating console. His usual calm demeanor had cracked days ago. Long-range sensors have lost contact with the Meridian system. That's 12 million civilians just gone. Dizzy closed her 3 eyes and felt the weight of her entire species pressing down on her shoulders. The Zephyrians were not warriors. Their tall, graceful forms were built for contemplation, not conflict. Their technology was advanced beyond measure, but it had always been used for creation, never destruction. What are we dealing with? She asked her science advisor, Dr. Keth Morn. The elderly Zephyrians, usually pristine white robes, were wrinkled from days of sleepless research. The preliminary data suggests artificial constructs, Keth replied, his voice hollow. Machines of some kind, but not like anything in our databases. They appear to be self-replicating, consuming all matter in their path to create more of themselves. The few fragments of data we recovered before losing contact with Outer Station 7 showed swarms of metallic objects, each one roughly the size of a fighter craft. How many? Dices asked, though she dreaded the answer. Conservative estimates suggest billions per system. They work with perfect coordination, like a single organism. Our planetary defense grids last approximately 4 hours before being overrun. The chamber fell silent, except for the gentle hum of Zephyrian technology. 4 hours. Their most advanced worlds, protected by energy shields that could deflect asteroids, were falling in 4 hours. Admiral, Communications Officer Lin spoke up from her station. The Outer Rim colonies are requesting immediate evacuation. But our transport capacity, she trailed off, unable to voice what everyone knew. They couldn't save everyone. Dee stood to her full 8-foot height, her iridescent skin catching the soft blue light of the command center. Send the signal, she commanded. Ma'am, Zen looked confused. The galaxy-wide distress beacon. Emergency Protocol 7. Broadcast on all frequencies, all languages in our database. Tell them who we are, what we're facing, and ask for any assistance they can provide. Dr. Keth looked shocked. Admiral, with respect, Protocol 7 hasn't been used in over 1,000 years, and the species we know, the Kaleri, are pacifists like us. The Mordian Republic is on the other side of the galaxy. The trade confederations have no military capability beyond commerce protection. Then we pray someone else hears it, Dices replied grimly. Someone we don't know about. Because if we don't get help, our entire civilization will be extinct within. The signal went out across the galaxy, carrying with it the desperate plea of a dying species. It traveled through hyperspace relays and quantum communication networks, reaching thousands of worlds. Most who received it dismissed it as impossible. Others were too far away to help. A few forwarded it to their allies, hoping someone might respond. The signal reached the edge of a sector marked on most galactic maps as the Forbidden Zone or the Dead Spiral. Most civilizations avoided this region, believing it to be filled with nothing but toxic worlds and failed experiments. Their star charts marked it with warnings about lethal radiation, crushing gravity, and poisonous atmospheres. But they were wrong. Captain Marcus Chen sat in the command chair of the Earth Defense Force, vessel Indomitable, reviewing patrol reports. From the outer system, when Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez called out from the communications station, "Captain, we're receiving a strange transmission. It's not coming from any Earth facility or known colony." Marcus leaned forward, his weathered face showing the scars of a dozen space conflicts. At 45, he had been fighting humanities, wars since the colony rebellions, and his instincts were sharp. "What kind of transmission?" "It's a distress signal, sir. Multi-language broadcast, but our computers are having trouble with the translation. Something about machine swarms consuming entire star systems. The signal appears to be coming from outside human space entirely." The bridge of the Indomitable fell quiet. First contact with alien life had been theoretical for decades, despite humanity's expansion to dozens of star systems. Now it seemed they had finally received proof they weren't alone in the universe. "Can you clean up the translation, Marcus?" asked Dr. Kira Blackstone, the ship's xenobiologist and linguistics expert, looked up from her console. "I'm running it through our language matrix now. The syntax is unlike anything we've encountered, but the mathematical constants and star position references are helping us decode it." The woman was brilliant, Marcus knew. She had volunteered for deep space assignment, specifically hoping to make contact with alien life. Her dark eyes were bright with excitement, despite the grim nature of the message. "Captain," Sarah called out again, "Admiral Foster is requesting immediate conference. This signal has been picked up by every deep space monitoring station in human territory." Within an hour, Marcus found himself on a secure channel with Earth's top military and scientific leaders. Admiral Janet Foster, Supreme Commander of the Earth Defense Force, appeared on the main screen along with representatives from the Colonial Defense Corps and Earth's top xenobiologists. "Gentlemen, ladies," Admiral Foster began without preamble, "we have confirmed that this distress signal is legitimate alien communication. The species, calling themselves Zephyrians, are facing complete extinction from what they describe as self-replicating machine swarms. Their star charts put them approximately 800 light-years from our nearest colony." Dr. Elizabeth Warren, Earth's lead xenobiologist, spoke up from her laboratory. "The implications are staggering. If these machines are truly and consume entire star systems, they represent a threat that could eventually reach human space. We're talking about a potential extinction-level event for all organic life in this galaxy. What are our options?" asked General Harrison from the Colonial Defense Corps. Admiral Foster was quiet for a moment. "The Zephyrians' transmission includes star charts and tactical data. Their technology appears to be highly advanced, but their military capabilities are limited. They're asking for any assistance the galaxy can provide." Marcus cleared his throat. "Ma'am, permission to speak freely." "Go ahead, Captain. If we're dealing with machines that can consume star systems, and the aliens can't stop them, what makes us think we can do any better?" From their transmission, it sounds like they're dealing with numbers that would overwhelm any human fleet. Dr. Blackstone interrupted softly. "Captain, there's something else. I've been analyzing their star charts and comparing them to our galactic surveys, the systems they're losing, the worlds they describe as their homes. According to our analysis, most of those planets would be completely uninhabitable to human life. What do you mean? Admiral Foster asked. Their homeworlds have gravity less than half of Earth's. Their atmosphere is a mixture of gases that would be toxic to humans. The radiation levels from their sun would kill most Earth life in days. Captain, they're calling for help, but from our perspective, they're living in what we would consider paradise worlds. Perfect conditions for life as they understand it. The implication hung in the air like a challenge. If these advanced aliens, living in perfect conditions, couldn't defend themselves, what could humans possibly do? Ma'am, Marcus said slowly, what if that's exactly why we might be able to help them? Admiral Foster raised an eyebrow. Explain. These machines are adapted to fighting species that evolved in easy conditions. They've probably never encountered anything that had to fight for survival every single day. On Earth, we don't just fight other humans. We fight the planet itself, the weather, the environment, diseases, predators. What if these machines have never faced anything that was already adapted to warfare before it even reached space? The conference call fell silent as the implications sank in. Earth had been shaped by 4 billion years of violence. Every species that survived did so by being faster, stronger, or smarter than whatever was trying to kill it. Humans had emerged from a world where extinction was always one disaster away. Admiral, Dr. Blackstone said excitedly, Captain Chen might be right. If these machines are optimized to fight peaceful civilizations, they might not be prepared for tactics developed by a species that's been fighting total wars for thousands of years. Admiral Foster nodded slowly. Captain Chen, how quickly can you prepare your battle group for deep space deployment? Marcus felt a chill of anticipation. 72 hours, ma'am. But Admiral, we'll be going in blind. We don't know their technology, their biology, or what we'll face when we get there. Then we'd better learn fast, Foster replied. Dr. Blackstone, you're being transferred to Captain Chen's ship immediately. Your job is to establish communication and gather intelligence. Captain, you'll be commanding a first contact mission and potentially the opening battle of a war against machines that have already consumed dozens of civilizations. Understood, ma'am. And Captain, Foster's expression grew grim. If this goes badly, if these machines follow our ships back to human space, Earth needs to know. We'll need time to prepare for the worst. Marcus nodded. We won't let them reach human space, Admiral. 3 days later, the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Zephyrian territory. 5 ships, including the Indomitable, the destroyer Relentless, and 3 support vessels. It was a tiny force by human standards, but it represented the fastest response Earth could manage across 800 light years. Captain, Lieutenant Rodriguez called out, we're receiving a transmission. It's definitely Zephyrian, and they sound surprised. Dr. Blackstone looked up from her console where she had been refining their translation protocols. They're asking who we are and how we survived crossing the dead zone to reach them. They want to know what kind of species could live in the region of space we call home. Marcus smiled grimly. They were about to find out. The Death World Revelation Admiral Dissis Velm stared at the impossible sight on her tactical display. 5 unknown ships had appeared at the edge of Zephyrian space, responding to their distress call. The vessels were unlike anything in their databases, built with sharp angles and heavy armor plating that suggested a species familiar with conflict. They're requesting permission to approach, Communications Officer Lin reported, her voice filled with wonder. Captain, their translation software is remarkably advanced. They're already speaking coherent Grant them approach vectors to Fleet Command Station, Dices ordered, and Lin, prepare a full diplomatic reception. Whoever these beings are, they may be our only hope. The lead human vessel, which identified itself as the Indomitable, docked with the massive Zephyrian command station 3 hours later. Thesis had chosen the largest conference chamber aboard the station, its crystal walls designed to impress visiting dignitaries from across their peaceful empire. Now she hoped it would be suitable for first contact with the species that had answered their desperate call. Captain Marcus Chen entered the chamber wearing the dark blue uniform of the Earth Defense Force, followed by Dr. Kira Blackstone and 2 other humans. Dices was immediately struck by how different they appeared from any species she had encountered. Where Zephyrians were tall and graceful, these humans were compact and solid. Their movements were controlled but suggested coiled energy, like predators at rest. Admiral Veln, Marcus said, the translation device rendering his words in perfect Zephyrian. I am Captain Marcus Chen of the Earth Defense Force. We received your distress signal and came as quickly as we could. Dices performed the traditional Zephyrian greeting, touching her 3-fingered hands to her forehead. Captain Chen, I cannot express our gratitude that someone answered our call. We are facing extinction, and our weapons seem useless against these machine swarms. Dr. Blackstone stepped forward, her eyes bright with scientific curiosity. Admiral, I'm Dr. Kira Blackstone, xenobiologist and first contact specialist. We've analyzed your transmissions, but we need to understand more about your enemy and your capabilities before we can determine how to help. Of course, Dices replied, gesturing to the holographic display in the center of the chamber. Dr. Keth, please show our guests what we're facing. The elderly Zephyrian scientist activated the display, showing the latest surveillance data from the outer colonies. The images were horrifying. Vast clouds of metallic constructs, each roughly the size of a small spacecraft, moving through space in perfect formations. They stripped planets bare of all matter, converting it into more machines with terrifying efficiency. We estimate each swarm contains between 10 and 50 billion individual units, Dr. Keth explained. They move faster than our best ships. Their weapons can penetrate our strongest shields, and they adapt to our tactics within hours. 17 star systems have been completely consumed. The pattern suggests they're moving toward our core worlds. Marcus studied the display with the eye of a career military officer. What kind of resistance have you offered? Our planetary defense grids use focused energy weapons and particle beam arrays, Thesis replied. Each world is protected by automated defense platforms and patrol fleets, but the machines simply overwhelm our defenses through sheer numbers. Have you tried kinetic weapons, physical projectiles? Dizis looked confused. You mean ... throwing objects at them? Captain, with respect, our energy weapons are far more efficient than crude projectile systems. Dr. Blackstone and Marcus exchanged glances. Admiral Kira said carefully, could you tell us about your homeworld, the environmental conditions, where your species evolved? Zephyr Prime is a beautiful world, Thesis said with obvious pride. Gravity is gentle, about half of what we measure here on this station. Our atmosphere is perfectly balanced with optimal temperatures year-round. We have no dangerous weather, no seismic activity, and no predatory species. It's a world that nurtures life and promotes peaceful development. The humans were quiet for a moment. Finally, Marcus spoke. Admiral, I think we need to tell you about Earth. Over the next hour, the humans described their homeworld in terms that horrified the Zephyrians. a planet where gravity was twice what they considered normal, where the atmosphere contained a corrosive gas called oxygen that would kill most galactic species, where violent storms regularly devastated entire continents. They spoke of ice ages and volcanic eruptions, of predators that hunted in packs and disasters that wiped out entire ecosystems. Your species evolved under these conditions? Dr. Keth asked in disbelief. Not just evolved, Dr. Blackstone replied. We thrived. Every challenge our planet threw at us made us stronger, faster, more adaptable. When we ran out of natural predators, we became our own greatest threat. Human history is an unbroken chain of warfare, competition, and survival of the fittest. This is felt a chill of fear. You're describing a species of warriors, among other things, Marcus said. But we're also scientists, artists, explorers, and dreamers. The same drive that made us effective fighters also pushed us to reach for the stars. Captain Dizis said slowly, are you saying your people might be able to fight these machines? We're saying we'd like to try. But first, we need to understand why they're targeting your world specifically. Dr. Keth called up additional data. Based on our analysis, the machines seem to prioritize worlds with large populations and advanced technology. They ignore barren planets or systems with harsh conditions. Dr. Blackstone leaned forward, studying the pattern. They're targeting civilizations, not just resources. These machines were designed to hunt advanced species that live in optimal conditions, but they've never encountered a species like yours, Thysis realized. Beings that evolved in hostile conditions and adapted to warfare. Exactly, Marcus replied. These machines are probably programmed to fight peaceful civilizations with predictable defensive patterns. They might not know how to respond to tactics developed by a species that's been fighting total wars for millennia. The discussion was interrupted by an urgent alarm. Officer Zen's voice echoed through the chamber. Admiral, emergency hyperspace signatures detected. The Kelton system is under attack. Estimated time until complete consumption, 6 hours. Dizis closed her eyes in despair. Kelton was home to 8 million Zephyrians, including her younger sister's family. How far is Kelton from here? Marcus asked immediately. 3 hours at maximum hyperspace velocity, Thesis replied. Then we have time. Marcus activated his communication device. All human vessels, this is Captain Chen. Prepare for immediate combat deployment. We're going to engage the enemy at Kelton's system. Captain Dizis protested. You have 5 ships against billions of machines. This is suicide. Marcus smiled, and Dizis was disturbed to realize it was the expression of a predator anticipating a hunt. Admiral, you've been fighting these machines the wrong way. You've been trying to protect everything. We're going to try something different. What do you mean? Dr. Blackstone answered. We're going to hunt them. The combined human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kelton system to witness a scene of devastation. The machine swarm had already consumed 2 of the system's outer planets and was closing in on Kelton Prime. The planet's defense grid was fighting desperately, but the machines were adapting to every tactic the Zephyrians employed. 30 billion individual units, reported Lieutenant Rodriguez from the Indomitable's sensor station. They're operating in perfect coordination, like a single organism. Marcus studied the tactical display. The machines moved in predictable patterns, optimized for overwhelming static defenses. They had never learned to deal with an enemy that wouldn't stay still. All ships, implement Hunter Protocol, Marcus commanded. Do not engage in formation combat. Individual attack, runs, maximum speed, hit and fade tactics. Target their coordination nodes. Sir, called out his weapons officer, their shields can repel our energy weapons. Then we don't use energy weapons. Load kinetic penetrators, tungsten rods, maximum velocity. The Zephyrians watched in amazement as the human ship scattered and began independent attacks on the machine swarm. Instead of forming defensive lines, they moved like a pack of wolves, striking fast and disappearing before the machines could respond effectively. The Indomitable screamed through the center of the swarm at speeds that would have torn apart most Zephyrian vessels. Its kinetic weapons fired tungsten rods at near-light velocity, punching through machine shields that were designed to deflect. Energy beams. Dozens of machines exploded with each pass. Impossible, Dr. Keth whispered as he watched the human ships maneuver. The gravitational forces alone should crush their crews. They're built for it, Disses realized. Their entire species is adapted to conditions that would kill us. The battle raged for 2 hours. The humans used tactics that violated every principle of civilized warfare. Ramming attacks, explosive charges delivered at point-blank range, and coordinated strikes that required split-second timing and absolute trust between ship captains. But it was working. The machine swarm, optimized to fight predictable opponents, began to break apart as the humans disrupted their coordination networks. Individual machines started making errors, colliding with each other or firing on their own units. Admiral, Officer Lin called out excitedly, the machines are retreating. They're actually withdrawing from the system. Theseus watched in wonder as the vast swarm that had consumed 17 star systems turned and fled from 5 human ships. But her celebration was cut short when she saw the cost. The human destroyer Relentless was gone, destroyed in a ramming attack that had taken out a major coordination node. The Indomitable showed severe damage, and the other human vessels were barely operational. Captain Chen, Desis, called over the communication channel, your casualties, ... Marcus's voice was steady despite the obvious pain in his words. Acceptable losses, Admiral. We proved these machines can be beaten. Now we need to plan how to take the fight to them. You would continue fighting after losing so many of your people. There was a pause before Marcus replied, Admiral, this is what we do. This is what we are. Your species creates beauty and seeks harmony. Ours has always stood between the darkness and those who need protection. Disses felt something she had never experienced before, awe at a species that chose to embrace violence not for conquest, but for defense of others. These humans were not just warriors. They were guardians who had crossed the galaxy to stand with strangers against annihilation. Captain, she said formally, the Zephyrian Confederation would be honored to stand with humanity against this threat. Then let's plan how to kill every last one of these machines, Marcus replied, because they just made a fatal mistake. They let us know they can bleed. As the combined fleet regrouped around Kelton Prime, neither species realized they were being watched. Deep in the darkness between stars, an ancient intelligence that had created the machine swarms was analyzing the battle data. For the first time in 10,000 years, its perfect weapons had been defeated. The intelligence began to recalculate its strategies. These humans would require special attention. They had come from a region of space it had dismissed as uninhabitable. Yet they fought with a ferocity and adaptability that threatened everything it had built. The war was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning.